I get a lot of requests for some kind of cheesecake macaron, and so I decided to try my best to make a ganache for macarons inspired by cheesecake. I decided to go with a strawberry cheesecake, and to get that vibe squished into a ganache, I'm starting off with my white chocolate ganache base. Then I have some strawberry puree, I have some graham cracker crumbs, and of course some cream cheese. So I'm starting off with the strawberry puree and cream, a little bit of sugar, and the graham cracker crumbs in my saucepan, then cornstarch and my second heavy cream in a small bowl, of course some white chocolate chips, and then I'm going to leave my butter and cream cheese just at room temperature off to the side. This is a little bit strange looking because of those graham cracker crumbs in there, but that's a flavor I really thought was important because of the crust part of a cheesecake. In my mind is a super important element of that. So in the beginning, this does look a little bit bizarre because the graham cracker does absorb some of the liquid, so this looks a little bit thicker than normal. It looks like it's going to turn out kind of weird, but I promise texture-wise at the end, this is really lovely. If you're okay with additional texture, or if adding the graham cracker crumbs now scares you a little bit, you can fold them in at the very end of the ganache, or like I'll do with my shells later, you can just add them as sprinkles on the top of your shells, or pipe your ganache and then sprinkle some graham cracker crumbs over the top of that, so you do have a lot of options. I just wanted everything all in one place. Now, right now, that strawberry puree, I've substituted out some of my normal cream for that. It is looking really lovely and like a vibrant pink right now. Because I'm about to add in additional cream, cornstarch, I'm going to pour this over white chocolate, I'm going to add in butter and cream cheese. This color is going to turn into a very pale mauve-y sort of pink color, which is totally fine with me. But if you're hoping for a more distinct strawberry color, I would recommend adding a bit of colorant in right now with your liquid, whether using a powder or a gel or even a liquid food coloring. It's okay, just add it right in at this point, even though it seems like you might not need it right now, considering all the other white beige elements you're going to be adding in. If you want a pink ganache, definitely add that in. So I'm just going to temper in some of that really thick strawberry paste mixture into the cream and cornstarch. This is super important because otherwise the cornstarch will get really clumpy, and because again the graham crackers are in there, you might think, do you even need cornstarch? You still do. It is looking really thick and paste-like already, so this process goes really quickly. Once I add that cornstarch in, it just needs like a minute more to thicken up. With this ganache, this pastry cream style ganache, it's always important to stir pretty much constantly, but especially with this one because it's already so thick, you really run the risk of overheating in some parts and or burning if you take your eyes and hand off of this mixture. As soon as it truly thickens up, I know it looks kind of thick right now, but as soon as you start seeing some bubbles and it's looking a bit more like a pastry cream, then we're going to take it off the heat and pour it onto the white chocolate. I am using just white chocolate. If you want to continue more of a fruity vibe, you absolutely could add in some ruby chocolate here. You could use one of the Valrhona Inspiration chocolate, strawberry, raspberry, something like that. So there are a lot of ways to play around with this ganache and the flavor profile. If you are not a strawberry cheesecake person, but you want to do some kind of cheesecake ganache for your macarons, you can definitely play around with, if you substitute out some of the heavy cream for a different puree, let's say raspberry, mango, passion fruit, guava, cassis, or lots of other options like that. Or you can sub it back, have all heavy cream and then use a bit of dark chocolate or add in some caramel or so many different things you could do to play around with a cheesecake version. I just really like strawberry cheesecake. It feels like a very classic nostalgic flavor, so I thought I'd start there. Now this is looking nice and thick, so I'm going to take it off of the heat and pour it onto my white chocolate, which I slightly melted in my microwave just for about 30 seconds. That just helps so that the heated strawberry pastry cream style mixture doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting in melting the white chocolate. Then I'm just going to use a spoon to stir it through. It is looking a little bit gross right now, and as you can see, the color is already softening a bit. Once it's all combined, I'm going to let it sit on my counter for about 10 to 20 minutes until it is just above room temperature. It's no longer super hot, but it hasn't cooled completely. At that point, I'm switching to my immersion blender. If you don't already have one, you can check the links in my Amazon storefront page. I do have the immersion blenders I own in my kitchen linked down below if you are looking to get one for yourself and your kitchen. I highly recommend it for anyone who's interested in pastry, especially, but really anything in the kitchen, to have one of these guys. I emulsified in all of the butter first, followed by the cream cheese. It's super important for the texture and consistency and ease of blending that in, that both the butter and cream cheese are at room temperature. If they are cold, it's going to be a lot harder. You might end up with lumps. It just is causing difficulties left and right. Then I'm going to let this cool completely. So I'm pouring it into a small pan here lined with plastic wrap. I just do this because it increases surface area and it helps it cool a lot faster. Now let me show you how I made the macaron shells. There's not really anything different with this method than my normal French macaron shells, but because I did a couple of different things, I wanted to show you the entire process. I've got some graham crackers here in a bag. I've got a paintbrush with some gel food colorant, and I'm just using a rolling pin here to crush up those graham crackers to make graham cracker crumbs, again to sprinkle that on the top, both for flavor and texture. Now from this point until the end of my batter being prepared, I am just going to be making white French method macaron shells completely as I always do, starting with room temperature egg whites, streaming in my sugar and cream of tartar. Then once that's all incorporated, I'm going to really work on getting a nice stiff peak like this before transferring all the meringue to a larger, wider bowl so I can incorporate in my dry ingredients. The dry ingredients, of course, are the powdered sugar and almond flour, which I have previously sifted together. If you are experiencing any lumps in your macarons and you're not already sifting or food processing your dry ingredients together, make sure to give that a try. Just like always, I'm incorporating my dry ingredients in 3 additions here, just making sure that everything is incorporated before adding in a little bit more and a little bit more. Then once everything's in there, I'm going to macaronage. There are a lot of different techniques for macaronaging or deflating some of the air built up in your meringue to get to the ribbon stage. I really like to press my batter against the sides of my bowl and then kind of turn it to fold it in on itself. I really like using large glass bowls for small batches and especially for filming, just because I feel like you can visualize everything so much easier than when you're trying to use a small bowl or like the bowl in my KitchenAid or something like that. I'll know I've reached the ribbon stage when I can pull my spatula up out of my batter and it will flow down like a ribbon back into the bowl, and then slowly after about 30 seconds kind of become one with the rest of the batter again. At that point, I'm going to put my macaron batter into a piping bag, but for something extra fun, I'm going to use that paintbrush I showed you before with my gel food colorant to paint the bag to get some color in here. So before I transfer my macaron batter into my piping bag, I'm just going to squeeze some gel food coloring. I'm using pink because, again, my ganache is a strawberry cheesecake, so I want a kind of a strawberry pink red color. And then I'm just using my paintbrush to streak it up the sides of my piping bag. And then I'm going to pour my macaron batter right inside. I'm using a pitcher just to help hold the bag in place so it doesn't go crazy. I also have those graham cracker crumbs at the ready because I'm going to sprinkle them on top as soon as I pipe these macaron shells. Now, I really liked how these turned out, and in my mind, it did give strawberry cheesecake vibes. When I just posted the reel on Instagram and I was like, what flavor do you think these are? Everybody thought they were like peppermint for Christmas, like peppermint candies, and I totally get that. I also had some people guess that it was supposed to be like blood for Halloween. So maybe I missed the mark here. I think that it was pretty accurate strawberry cheesecake, but that's fine. To each their own. If you want to give this a try with a different color or for different flavored macarons, I think it's a really fun way to have a simple swirl technique, especially because you are not really doing anything different with your macaron batter. You are just doing the macaronage, all of that exactly like you normally do, piping like you normally do, but you still get a really fun swirl in there. So as you see here, I really like piping onto a silpat. This one actually already has a template in it, though I do have a template I've printed off that I use as well. I have all of the brands and kinds of silpats I use, again, linked in my Amazon storefront. If you want to check that out, just see what brands, what materials am I using in my kitchen, all of that that's down there is genuinely the stuff that I use. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, but it's all linked down there. I generally use the 803 that you see me using here, or the 804 piping tip. I find that really comfortable and easy to use. Now that I have all of that piped, I did tap my tray a little bit to smooth out the tops of the shells, release any air bubbles, and now I'm sprinkling on the graham crackers. Again, this is for both texture and flavor, and I guess also to give your brain that little hint, this is a cheesecake macaron. After a normal amount of time resting, for me that's usually about 20 minutes, I put these into my oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 16 to 18 minutes. That might be different in your kitchen, so make sure to play around and find what works best for you. All right, here we have that strawberry cheesecake ganache. It is really thick and creamy. As you can see, the color is considerably lighter than when I started off, but I didn't mind, especially because I had that intense pink kind of strawberry vibe in the macaron shell. I wasn't too worried about the color coming from the ganache, and I was okay with it being much more natural looking. So now I'm just going to pipe this into my macaron shells, sandwich them, and get them into my refrigerator to mature. I have found that when using a ganache, that macarons tend to mature a bit quicker and maybe get softer a little bit faster than a fully 100% buttercream filled macaron, and I think that these are no exception. So I would say let them be in the refrigerator for 24 hours before you eat or sell them, and then make sure that if you're not eating them within the first week, that you've transferred them to the freezer in an airtight sealed container so that they can have a longer shelf life. If you want to increase the strawberry vibe, you could always pipe a ring of this ganache and then add some strawberry jam, homemade or store-bought, into the center to just really increase that fruity vibe. I really hope you like this tutorial and recipe idea. I was really excited to step into cheesecake exploration. Again, it's not something I do a lot in my kitchen, but I was really excited with this idea. The flavor was fantastic, and I was really, really pleased with how they turned out. if you give this a try, make sure to tag me on Instagram at Maddie Brame. I love seeing all of your results and everything that you do inspired by one of my bakes. If you're not already subscribed, down below, make sure to hit that button so you don't miss out on any of my other future recipes and tutorials. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye!